That should work. Alright folks, we're going to do a froggy fly with the latest, greatest adjustments. Pretty much the same as it always was. I'm doing this on a number 2. This happens to be a very inexpensive hook. Pre-tied, you know, it's for bait fishing. But I like the size and the weight, which is very important when you're making a floating frog fly, that it's got enough weight in the back of the fly to keep it oriented in the water properly. This fly has a lot of improvements over the years in balance and usability, you know, various things. It doesn't go upside down on you. The twisting is somewhat limited. Sometimes sometimes you get them just a little off kilter and they will twist like mad. This hook isn't shaped exactly the way I want it, so I'm gonna take that line off. Now I got just a hook. And before you do anything else, as I need this to be a straight eye hook, and before you go to all the effort of tying this fly up, and if you want this straightened out a little bit like that, that's good enough. And then these hooks have a twist on them, which I don't necessarily like either. Alright, I prepared the hook. If you don't want to do all that, buy the right hook. But it needs to be a relatively heavy wire hook. Like I say, this is a number 2 bait hook. You get about 6 or 7 in a package for a couple dollars. That's what you'll find is the theme of everything I tie. It's very cheap, very affordable, and it typically uses whatever I have on the bench at the moment, which this fly is going to be composed of this. This is synthetic bucktail. I've got marabou. I'm going to put some eyes on it, some nice eyes. I got some spinnerbait skirt. This stuff mixed in with a bunch of other junk. Spinnerbait skirt. I buy these spinnerbaits from Wally World. They're about $1, and the only thing I want off them is the skirt. It's nice and round. Got somebody in the closet. Alright, first step, I'm going to take 2 of these. I'm going to take 2 of the black ones and 2 of the yellow ones. Use whatever color you got. Green's real good. Chartreuse is a real good color to use. I'm going to line these up halfway between, like this. I'm going to place this over the hook and run it back to the back and lash it down so that most of the material is up on top of the hook. That helps keep it from tangling up. Alright, so then I got the backs. Now what I'm going to do before I get too deep into this, I'm going to take a black magic marker and I'm going to pull this stuff and stretch it and then put some black marks on it because I think it looks cool. Instead of just being solid white, now they're black and white, black and yellow. Alright, we got that. Pretty good light on this situation here. Probably could drop that down a little bit. I think we'll leave it there. Alright, the next step is to apply some of the bucktail. And this just helps guide this stuff. You don't need a lot of it. And I also call these things a soft tail popper. I don't want a lot of stiff materials at the back because these poppers also work quite well for sunfish. And if you put a lot of stiff materials at the back, it works very well as a hook guard, but it doesn't keep the weeds off, it just keeps the fish off. I'm going to gently wrap this to start with. I'm going to rotate it around the hook just a little bit so that I'm down both sides. And then I'm going to run that, keeping the excess material up front because I need the hook to be a little bit bigger diameter so that the foam, when I put the foam on here, it has something to stick to. I'll back all that out. Clean the front up real good. Alright, you can see that's just a little bit of hair. Synthetic hair. You can use real stuff. I actually prefer the real stuff, but I don't have any left. Alright, that'll kind of keep the back of the fly at the back of the fly. Keep it from tangling up in that hook. Now I'm going to get a nice fluffy hackle feather. And I started using hackles, not hackle, this marabou. I started using this stuff relatively recently because in the water it just has all kinds of action, and it makes the back of this fly appear larger without adding hardly any weight. I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to palmer this thing on here. See how these fibers come out to the side and they're all about the same distance? Well, if you did this and tied it on like that, you just get a big old puff of stuff. But if you palmer it, you can better control, I should say. Let me roll this back on the hook, adding to the shaft side. Adding to the shaft size. I'm going to let it wrap some of that stuff, it don't matter. I'll take it back to my starting point here. Right there. I'm strapping that down really tight. And then we start palmering this, and what you want to do is you want to pull all the fibers back to one side and start rolling around the shaft here. Pulling it back. And as you let go of the top, it'll let loose more and more and more fibers, which you pull back. I'm combing this stuff back best I can. Come up on top and latch it in. There we go. I'm latching that stuff in real nice. See how big and puffy that is? It does tend to slim down when it gets wet, but that makes for a very large back end of the fly, which I like. This is a popper. Essentially, it's going to look a little bit like a frog, but it also looks like a small fish. Alright, now I need a couple of hackles. Let's see if I got anything in here in my scrap box. There's some yellow. Alright, let me dig through my stuff here. Oh, I got two chartreuse ones. You gotta remember, I make most of this stuff up on the fly. I'm going to strap this one on here. This little chartreuse fly, I'm not going to palmer it though. I'm going to leave it headed to the back. And I'll take one on the other side, your side, so you can see what I'm doing. Oop, let me rotate this one like this. There you go. Now I got two chartreuse stripes on the side. Believe me, the fish aren't that choosy. Got that latch down. Don't worry too much about the positioning of those, because once it gets in the water they lay flat. Alright, let me put some yellow. Actually, I need a much stiffer hackle. Let me see what I can find. Right, look what I found. A nice yellow hackle. Love this thing, man. This is perfect. Alright, I'm going to break this right about here. It's amazing how strong feathers are. For being so light. I guess it's necessary for those birds that fly. Alright, strap this on and start wrapping this dude around. Let's see, I want to go this way. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just coat that stuff back. Coax it back. You can see how these things are starting to get real nice and hairy. I'm trying to use this whole feather, or at least most of it. That is a nice hackle. Alright, we're going to capture this. I'm going to roll back through this stuff. Help toughen this fly up a little. Try not to trap any of it. There we go. Alright, now sometimes I'll put additional spinnerbait skirt down the side, but I have found that that doesn't make too much difference really. You know, I'd put them on like this. And then strap them on the side so they go down the side, but I think I'm going to leave it as I'll put them in the foam body. Let me roll this back right about here and pull that out of the way. One last strap down. It takes a lot of thread to do these things. Don't worry about this thing coming undone because it's fixing to get covered in super glue. So, that takes care of the fly part of it, the tie-in part. Now the rest of it is making the foam body. Yeah, that's going to be pretty. It's got just the right colors in it too. I'll come back, a lot of times I'll come back with my green or black magic marker and give the top of this thing some bars. Just like that. I mean, that dresses it up so much. It just makes them look great, and when they get in the water they look even better. But most everything that bass attack has this bar type pattern. You know, it's part of their camouflage. Alright, let's start making the foam head. Got that out of the way. I've got this really cool yellow foam that's got gold fleck on this side of it. I love this stuff, man. It makes the best flies. They end up just being great. So you cut you a nice little piece of this stuff. That's how you start it. Got a nice little piece, and I'm cutting this oversize. So, and then the next thing I do is I cut an angle on this thing, and I just started doing this recently. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this just like this. See how this is working? I'm going to glue that together and then fold it together like this. And that leaves, when you do it that way, it leaves a little bit of a gap at the bottom. So, let me get these positioned real nice, about the same distance apart. I'm going to put a crease in it so I know where to put the glue. I like using this stuff because it has both a precise applicator and it's got this little brush. And this little brush worked great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this side. Cover part of it into the glue. Don't skimp on the glue. You gotta get it on there. And when it comes to foam and super glue, once you sandwich that thing together and it activates, it is on there forever. That becomes one piece. Now let's do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to cut most of this away. But that's the reason why I say make it oversized, because you're going to adjust it to fit the hook. That's good. Fold this over, a little gap there. Squeeze it. Alright. Now I'm going to glue these two sides together. See what that looks like? I'm going to glue these two sides together and you end up with 4 thicknesses. 4 layers of foam. And once this stuff is on here, it is going to stick forever. That's the plan. You only need to put it on one side, and I'm going to match these together. And it might be a little big in the back, but that's alright. Not in the bump. It's not big in the front. Alright, you glue that together. The hole is where it goes over the fly. See, that's going to slip right in there. I don't want to do it yet because there might be glue in there that hasn't dried, and what you'll find out in the latter step is when you slide this on this hook shaft, it's on there forever. Boy, it'll seize to that real fast. Now, what I want to do is go ahead and put my vise back in place, and we'll start trimming this to size. Hang on. I'm going to do a dry fit. Basically, I put it on top, so it needs to be about that long. So I know, and since the hole in the back is a little bit bigger than what I want to do is there's the bottom back. I want to tilt this forward just a little bit and cut it off. That's the back. The front is going to be the same sort of deal, and this is going to slide back over that hackle. So I know I need to cut it right about there. I'm going to give it a pretty good steep front, like that. Now let's do a dry fit. Oh yeah, that's going to work. Now what I want to do is I want to chop the top off. So as it sits here, I'm going to cut this back like this. I don't need a lot of foam on this fly. So I'm going to cut it at an angle. Like I said, you know, I started out with something much bigger than this. Now I'm going to even it up some. I didn't get a real good cut. The foam tends to compress when you go to cut it. Now I'm going to make this a great deal bigger with doubled up foam eyes. That'll give it much more flotation. So there we go. And I like it. It's good. It's awful thin, but you'll see the next step what matters in the construction of this fly. It looks good. I'm going to back it out. I'm going to put some more glue on it. What you do is you put the glue at the very front of the hook, just enough, because it's going to carry it back when you slide this on. And it's very important that you do this straight, because this thing is going to seize right there. And as soon as that, yeah, see, there it did. It seized. It's on there forever. And I might have got it a little too far back because I crunched my hackles, but it's okay. That won't make a big difference. It's there. Alright, now what you do, you take another piece of foam Same stuff, different stuff, doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and take a piece of this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole piece and I'm going to fold it in half and I'm going to glue it together so I get a double thickness. This is how I make my eyeballs. Now with this gold stuff, you don't really even need those fancy eyeballs that stick on there, because with a little bit of fingernail polish and a Sharpie marker, alright, we're going to glue that together, and this will seize and eventually become a single solid piece. There you go. Alright. And then what I'm going to do, matter of fact, you know, I just might forego the eyeballs on this, because, you know, not everybody has these eyeballs, even though they're dang pretty. I think because this stuff is gold, I can probably get a very similar effect using super glue and fingernail polish. So let's do that. So now, once I got my doubled up foam, I take a hole punch and I place it on here and I punch one out. And I'll go ahead and punch another one out because I need two eyeballs. Okay. See, doubled up foam, punched them out. Now I got two little eyeballs. And all you got to do is rotate this thing to the side. Put a little old dab of glue on there. Don't be shy. Place this. I like to make it so it touches the front and the top. I'm going to hold it on there until it seizes. See that? One eye. One eye jack at the moment. Let's see. Put a little blob of glue. Okay. Let's see. We need to rotate that just a little. There we go. Are they even? Yes, they are. Squeeze that together. See? And now I got some very nice, these are super inexpensive eyeballs if you think about it. Now let's make it look like an eye. Take a black magic marker and put a nice little dot right in the middle. Just like that. It don't matter if it's oblong or any kind of other detail. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cover that surface with super glue. That'll hold all that gold flake in place. And the nice thing about this, in one of the next steps, the biggest improvement on this fly is what happens after all this. Alright, let's make sure that glue is dry. I'll give it a minute for those eyeballs to dry out. Alright, see, it's coming together. Now, I'm going to take a green magic marker, make sure there's no one thing you need to know about Sharpie markers and super glue is no matter what color this is, yellow, chartreuse, or green, as soon as it's hit with super glue, it turns red, blood red. So if the glue's not dry, which it appears to be, so I'm going to start coloring the top of this fly. It's also part of the reason. See there? I don't know if you can see that, but there's a slight red tinge to it because that glue wasn't dry yet. We're going to go down the side. This is where the artistry comes in. The last step is or one of the latter steps is where we're putting the fingernail polish on it to coat this fly. It toughens and waterproofs the foam. Get a lot more use out of these if you coat them. You could just use this thing the way it is right now, and it will work on a lot of different fish. Like I said, the front of that fly, because I just put a little bit of green on there, as soon as I glue the last piece on there, I'm going to get this. Lately I've been putting some black dots on it because I think they look cool. Oh, that's so cool. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 dots on the top. I'm going to go out and use this thing this afternoon. I don't goof around too much. It's a hot day here. Now I like leaving the bottom of that fly, especially those eyeballs, leaving it bright yellow. I think that looks good. Alright, here comes the newest part of the tie. A plastic Dr. Pepper bottle actually, and I cut a section out of the middle. And this becomes my face on the front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this oversize. Nice thing about this plastic is it has a natural curve to it. See how that's naturally curved? Now I can put that back if I want it to, you know, be more of a slider, or I can put the curve forward if I want it to pop more. And I kind of had better luck with the forward. And all you got to do, and like I said, this is oversized, so I'm going to drill a hole in the center with my scissors. See how I did that? Just big enough so that I would slip over the eye of that hook. Bloop, just like that. I'm going to trim the back because it's got a little bit of pieces here. Actually, I should have done it this way, huh? Just like that. Nice and big. Just big enough that it flips over this. Now, see how that's working out? I'm going to glue this thing in place, give that glue time to dry, and I've had really good results in this stuff hanging on. The fact that it's clear, it's barely noticeable once this thing gets in the water. So we're going to pop this off here. We're going to coat the face of this thing. It doesn't take a lot of glue, but you want enough. The one I used last night, and I caught all them fish, that's that last video I posted. That fly made it through about 15 fish. It was the last fish I caught was sunfish, and that sunfish, you know, they got such a small mouth. He tore that fly up. That thing came disconnected, the plate on the front, this thing here. Alright, put that on there, and I mean to tell you, this foam, this stuff will stick. It will stick good. And pretty dang quick too. And once it seizes, then you can trim this stuff back. What this does more than anything is it protects these eyes. Otherwise, you know, you're pulling it through the water, whatever, something gets caught on there, you can rip that foam. Well, this foam isn't going to last forever. It takes a beating. But, you know, I tie lots of these things because a good fly works well, catches a lot of fish, doesn't last very long. I need to get that one I made yesterday and glue that piece back on it. Now this, I'll use my pair of fingernail clippers to trim it to size. Alright, once it has seized on the hook real nice, I'm going to take the scissors first just to get it down closer to size. You start trimming this thing back. Just like this. And now we got that. And it does need to be even, otherwise you'll end up with something that twists. It twists a lot, like we did last summer. Alright, fingernail clippers work great for this. I'm going to leave this one with a little extra on the bottom. Not a lot, but the other ones I actually trimmed them flush. And I think if I leave a little extra on there, I need to look at this a little different. There we go. I'll go right up beside that eye. I'm going to center right up on it. Boop. Same thing with this one. Center right up on that fly. That eye, just to make sure it's covered. It's coming together. Now let's do a couple of clips here. Fingernail clippers work great for this. Trim that down. Less on top, a little more on the bottom. And I'm still tweaking this pattern, which I've been tweaking this pattern for 15, 20 years. It has really evolved into something rather cool. Very useful when the bass are active and up near the surface. Plus this fingernail clippers are curved in just the right way. Let's get a little more round on this. That is real close. That is real close. Let me take a little clip right here. And obviously, this is how you get your little front proportioned correctly. Alright, now we got that all done. We're going to use some fingernail polish, just a top coat. I guess it's about the same thing as Sally Hard as Nails. I'm going to wet the back of this just to make sure none of this fluff gets up in the front while I'm coating the fly. But basically, I like to start on the bottom, the uncolored parts. This stuff will really preserve this fly through a lot of fish. And I'm going to make sure I get plenty of this stuff up around these eyes and up around this clear plastic front. It'll make it clearer. I'm also going to coat the eyeballs. It gives the fly a wet appearance. Actually, I don't know if you can tell or not, but that that eyeball here, let me reposition you there. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that eyeball, that super glue has dried, and now it looks like a dry eye. A little bit of this stuff on there. One coat of that stuff, and now it's shiny again. See how that one shines? All right, let me get plenty of this stuff up inside here. This will also help keep that blade in place. But I can see the glitter start to come loose as soon as you hit it with something like this. But when this dries, it stays put. It just makes the fly look so neat. Pretty. See how the black is dull? Uh-oh, run out of battery power. Let me hurry this up. Plenty, 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 plenty. Make sure I got all of that side. Nope, I didn't. Okay, that's got a good coating on it. I'm going to let it sit and dry. I'll give it a good 30 minutes. I might even take it outside and get it out in the sunlight. Alright, that's it for now. I'm going to put legs on it in a minute after it dries. Alright folks, my fly is completely together now. The front of it is well attached. You can see it from the all side, but you see that cupped face. That'll make it pop. The balance of this fly should be so that it sits low in the water with just the eyeballs at the surface, which is pretty much how the one worked yesterday. This is what it's based on. Same sort of fly. This one has legs. I'm fixing to put the legs on this one. Let's move this over here. And legs are easy. I'm going to use light colored legs, so I'll take 2 spinnerbait skirts and I'm going to put a knot in the middle of these things, and I'm going to run them through my needle. Get that knot pretty close to the middle, tighten it up a little. Believe it or not, all you need is that knot. That's more than enough to hold this thing in place. I take a large sewing needle, which I have right over here, and run it through this thing here, run it through the needle, and then very, very, very carefully skewer this thing. I'm going to go right through the center of this, just behind and below the eyes. You try to get it as square as possible before you run it through. You see? Then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this up through here. It's not perfect, but believe me, I don't waste any time trying to get things perfect. It takes too long. And then you can see how that knot is. I can pull that knot into the foam real easy like till it gets that past that first layer, and it will not come out. Now I'm going to take these, I'm going to grab them together, I'm going to stretch them. I'm going to take my black magic marker and I'm putting black stripes on them. Blink. So now I got black striped ones, And then what I like to do, you know, a lot of times they'll catch underneath the hook itself when you're throwing it a bunch and it's, you know, it's going through the water. Sometimes they will get messed up and catch behind the hook like that. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these. I'm going to pull them back, and then right at the bend of the hook, I'm going to cut that so that it's this long right here. That way it's really difficult for this thing to get stuck underneath. Make sure I got them the same. I'll pull them together up top like this, and I'll cut that off now. See that? Those are pretty well positioned. They'll relax a little bit, and then when they get in the water and you pull it forward, they'll slope back, but they will not catch underneath that very often. The same thing with the back. That's the reason why you put the spinnerbait skirt on first, so that all these other materials wrap it and hold it in position. Now that is a nice looking fly. It takes a while to build one of these things. Now sometimes I'll put a second coat of the fingernail polish on it, but this one has a very thick first coat. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the body of this thing has got sparkles. It sparkles, and eventually it wears it off. This one has been out one time. It caught about 15 fish. It's essentially the same design, but that's been through 15 fish. This little plastic face plate here fell off on the last fish, but I just glued it back on. The rest of the fly is holding up pretty well. This one has a little more bulk in the back, but it's all the same stuff, you know, green tail, dark stripes on those. So tell you what, let me take this thing, let me take the new one down to the pond and see if it'll catch a fish. Add it to this video because it'd be nice. Alright, stay tuned. Oh, here he goes, here he goes. Boom, he's gone. Yeah, I hope they do that with my fly. Alrighty, here we go. Let's see now. Gotta get a hold of my line here. Boom, shakalaka. Oh, there he is. Oh, there we go. Alright. There's the first fish. That didn't take long, huh? Look at that. Hold on, little buddy. Look at that fishy. Work. Oh, that one just gave up. Oh, he's got a buddy following him. About the same size. Well, a little better than the last one. Staring into the sunlight. There you go. Flies are working, man.